Well, here I am talking to one of the founders of this wonderful fly-in. It's my favoriteest fly-in, as many of you know, Tom Lowe himself. Morning, Tom.
Good morning.
What you got to tell us? Anything?
Well, what is it you would really like to know? So,
what's your thoughts on this year so far?
well, I think everything considered, we're doing pretty well. I think you know, the attendance is maybe down a little bit from what we had last year, but so far. But considering the weather we've had all over the country, and the fires and the tornadoes and the hurricanes and stuff, I guess we're good. I think what they say, we had 49 Stearmans.
That's what I heard this morning.
That's not bad for a wind season.
No, it's not. No. So how long you've been doing this?
What is it? 52 years. I was obviously pretty young at the time, and there was a fellow that lived here in Galesburg by the name of Jim Leahy. He was a businessman here, and he had a stock 220 Stearman, and he flew air shows in the air, and it was very good. He was probably one of the smoothest air show aerobatic pilots I've ever seen at a Stearman. He was quite good.
Wow.
Anyway, we got acquainted and ran around living together, and I met him the first time at the National Antique Airplane Association Fly-in at Ottumwa in 1970.
Wow.
And that's where we met each other. And then occasionally we went to a few fly-ins together. We got to talking about, you know, we ought to get the Stearmans together. And that went on for about a year or two. And one day Jim called me up and said, "Tom, I'm going to do it. We're going to have a Stearman fly-in, and we're going to do it at Galesburg." And so I said, "Well, I'll help you. I'll help you." So Jim did all the stuff that was required here at Galesburg, and I went through the FAA aircraft registry book at that time. And that was pre-computer days.
Yeah, really.
And there was a book the FAA had. It was about that thick, and it listed all the airplanes by types into their IN numbers and stuff, but they didn't say Stearman or Boeing. It had a code you had to look up. Anyway, I went all through that and dug out every Stearman I could find.
How long did that take?
Oh, weeks.
I bet.
And the thing of it is, I had to go to the FAA Gato office. It was a Gato in those days.
Yeah.
To use their book, because they had one book, and then you had to do it there.
Oh, wow.
And so anyway, then I ended up writing up a letter and stuff, and I mailed it out to everything I could find in the country. And then eventually we had the first fly-in. I think we had 19 airplanes.
Wow.
First fly-in. And we decided that, well, we'll try this again. And so we tried it the next year, and it went better the third year, and it's been going ever since. And it's after about 10 years, Jim and I basically organized it and financed it, whatever it cost. We ended up paying for it, and we decided that in my case, being a cheap airline pilot, I wasn't, you know, we didn't want to pay for anything. So we determined that we would not have a registration fee. We would say we're not going to charge the Stearman guys to come to this event. And it's 50 years later, it's still the same way. There is no registration fee for the pilots. So after about 10 years, the city council kind of suggested that we organize a little better, and we did. And that's when we founded the board of directors, and a local banker, Harold Canada, who had been an Army Air Corps pilot during World War II, was our first president, and that's when we formally organized the fly-in, and it's been going good ever since. And so here we are, 52 years later, and we have a great group of people, and we have a lot of fun.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think, I think you've done an absolute wonderful job. It doesn't take me to tell you that.
Yeah.
All the Stearman here, I know I was here for the 50th, and there were 154, I think.
Right.
That was amazing to me to see that many.
We were running out of space to park them that year.
Yes, I saw that. And the cool thing, I think, besides the airplane that I've picked up on, is just the camaraderie that how many people have been here since day one. And it's just amazing. And no vendors. I think that's really appreciated by everybody. You go to so many fly-ins and there's just vendors all over the place. This is just about the people as much as about the aircraft and the history. So it's pretty cool.
We've had vendors here in more than what we have now today over the years, but they've all been aviation oriented. They've been sport aviation indicated. In some cases they're Stearman people, in some places they're, you know, some of the engine people have been here and stuff. And, you know, we don't, it's nice to have it. It adds to the flavor when there are some vendors and stuff to do stuff, you know. So, but we have a lot of fun. We do a lot of flying. A lot of people offer rides, give people rides. We have our contests later in the week and stuff. And formerly, most years we have quite a bit of formation flying. This year, so far, it hasn't been very much formation flying. In fact, we float.
I've been disappointed in it. I'm trying to find people to go fly formation, and
but you
I'm
have
bummed.
to be real careful. Well,
Yes.
In fact, we float together.
Yes.
So we have a lot of fun, and it's a real nice group of people and stuff. And of course, we have our flyouts to a couple of local communities that sponsor lunches for us, and gives an excuse to go fly the airplane and go somewhere.
Yep.
And they're usually, you know, Kiwani's about 30 miles up there, and I mean we go up to Geneseo, and that's it's just a little bit further. Beautiful grass strip, and have the aerobatic contest up there and that sort of thing. So anyway, we have a good time. So.
We do, all of us do. And you know, I think one of the other things you've done really well is these are historical artifacts and they're fragile.
Right.
And so you just don't allow everybody in loose on the flight line here. And the public does come, but they get on the little trams and they're being educated about the aircraft while they're being driven around. It's really cool, I think.
And over the years, we've had some groups of people that worked with one of the schools in town, and they went in and spent a day, an hour, a couple hours or so talking with all the kids, presentation with the kids and stuff, you know, and so we try to help out as best we can, you know, and we get a tremendous amount of support from the city of Galesburg and the city government. The city council members are very, very supportive, and in fact, with our new hangar building that we've gotten built in the last couple of years, the city has been very, very supportive of that, both technically and financially, in assisting having that building made and stuff. So it's really a plus, you know. So
that new hangar is really nice.
Yeah. But we have, you know, everybody's that's here is whether they're a pilot or a mechanic or just a spectator, all of them are interested in the Stearman airplanes in particular. And we have a very, I don't know, unstructured group or whatever, but we have all walks of life and stuff. And if you look over next door, you see the Old Crow airplanes. That belongs to Hans Noordzijk, who's from the Netherlands.
Yes.
And
he's a storyteller, isn't he?
Oh, yeah, well, that's his real thing. And Hans, I gave Hans his first ride in my Stearman.
Really?
Many years ago. And a year or so later, he's back and he has a Stearman, and he took the Stearman to the Netherlands. And he is now a retired KLM pilot, and he is immigrated to the United States and is working on getting what it will take to become a citizen.
Right.
And he lives here now and stuff. So it's great to see him. Of course, I always put the hook in their mouth at the cost of their billfold, because people go fly these things and then they have to have one.
Yep.
You know, so.
Yeah, it's amazing. I've given, I don't know, 400 or 500 rides in this Stearman, and a number of them now are commercial pilots, and their first ride ever was in the Stearman. Yeah. It's an addictive entry into aviation. It really is.
But you know, you talk to people, and I think they're like, you know, when I grew up as a little kid, all I ever wanted to do was, from the little time, was I wanted to fly airplanes. Yeah. I wanted to be a pilot. And the Stearman was my favorite airplane because that was what the cadets flew in the Army Air Corps, in the
Right.
Navy,
Right.
and it was a biplane, you know, and stuff. And so I've really been lucky to have been able to follow my dream and have the dream of having this airplane and stuff, you know, and stuff. So
And introduce so many others to it. That's what's cool.
So I don't know. My airplane here is just like the vast majority. At one time, it was a crop duster.
Oh wow.
But actually, it was a mosquito sprayer. It sprayed mosquito down in Florida for about 29, 30 years when I got it. And almost the vast majority of these airplanes at some time or other have been an ag airplane of some kind. And the ag industry, we have to be very thankful for the agricultural spraying industry, because they're the ones that used these airplanes and saved them.
Yes.
For us, that now we have had the opportunity to restore them and fly in. If it hadn't been for them, they would have disappeared.
I agree.
You know,
I agree.
and but I also I'm just talking personally here. First Stearman I ever flew was a Chinese Stearman in Taiwan, in
Really?
Formosa, China.
Wow.
And at the time I was in the Air Force, and the unit I was in, we were on a temporary duty assignment into Japan, and then we had a group that went from Japan to Taiwan to do a war games exercise with the Nationalist Chinese Air Force. And we got to their base. The first thing I saw was a Stearman sitting in a hangar. And make a long story short, I finally found out there was a flying club that had a Stearman, and there was an American sergeant that was based there that instructed in it, and he took me and my squadron commander and a couple, 3 other pilots and stuff out in this countryside, and flew a Nationalist Chinese Stearman for the first time.
Wow. That's
$8 an hour American.
Oh geez. Wow.
So, but and that really set the hook.
Yeah,
you know?
I bet it did.
So-
That's wonderful. Wow,
But,
what stories.
And at that time, the Nationalist Chinese Air Force had quite a few Stearmans still that they used for various and sundry things and stuff. And I don't know, 10 years later, probably, I contacted their headquarters in Taiwan and inquired about the Stearmans, and when they were done with it, they all took them to a field, put them up in the middle, and put a torch to them and burned them all up.
I've heard so many stories like that.
You know,
Yes, yes.
But
oh boy.
But anyway, it's been a great ride.
Yes, that's wonderful.
So, and we're glad you're here. That's the
Oh,
main
thank
thing,
you.
know,
I'm
so-
glad to be here too, very much. So there you have it. From Tom himself, I think is one of the most genuine people in aviation, and look what has happened because of Tom and his dream. And hopefully this is going to last way beyond all of us. Thank you, Tom, very,
Well,
very much.
if I had, you know, I said this, you know, this is a generational thing. You know, our son Mike has been flying our Stearman since he was probably 14 years old.
Wow.
And he is now a professional airline pilot. His son, who is now 16, is learning to fly and will soon, at some point down the line, be flying this airplane. And that's going to be, you know,
That's
3
cool.
generations in our family.
That's
you
cool.
know, and that's not uncommon at all.
Right.
You know, the people, we've got to pass on this love and the care for this airplane and the history involved to the next generations coming up, you know, so.
I'm right there with you. My biggest fear is they're going to end up in museums if we can't get
Yeah.
more interest in the
Yeah,
younger
so-
generation.
And it's a wonderful life. It could have been worse, and I could have taken up golf.
Yeah, there you go. Great.
Nothing against golf, but it's not my
I
thing.
know, I
you know,
agree.
so-
I
so-
agree. Well, it's a
and
pleasure.
you know, we've met so many varied individuals and very type people, both nationalities, political views, religions. It doesn't make any difference
Right.
as long as we love Stearman.
Yes, I agree.
And it's a wonderful went over to that, and I've, and I know you have too. You've been around sport aviation all of your adult life, and I have too and stuff. And I think the Stearman group is kind of special. I don't know if it's a clique or what, but everybody's got a spatial love for these airplanes and the history.
Yes.
And then we want to save the history.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. No, you're dead on.
when we get done talking here, I'm going to go fly.
Good. I'll go fly with you.